Hi everyone, I'm Jodi and welcome to my channel, and more importantly, welcome to another Friday face-off. This one we're talking all about two mid-price point foundations that I know many of you have been asking about. Why? Because one of them is the Haus Labs by Lady Gaga Triclone Skin Tech Medium Coverage with Fermented Arnica. And we're facing that off with the Nars Light Reflecting Advanced Skincare Foundation. Now let's get into the criteria for how this face-off is gonna go, because we are gonna unpack a lot. We're gonna look at these foundations with and without primer, with and without setting powder, and with and without setting spray. Because how you use your foundation varies, and I wanna make sure that I give you enough information so that you can figure out which is gonna work best for you based on the way you apply and set your foundation. We're also gonna put these on top of a cream product so that you can see how they're gonna work with a cream contour or a cream blush, for example. And we're gonna put a little bit of powder on top in terms of the blush so that you can see how it wears with that powder also. So if you are ready to unpack these two highly rated, highly loved foundations, then stick around because we're gonna get right to it. Next up is the Nars Light Reflecting Advanced Skincare. 1 ounce sells for $50 and it comes in 36 shades. It is a medium coverage, natural finish, it's vegan, and it says to have less than 1% fragrance. Let's just test that right now. Yeah, I don't smell any fragrance at all, so that's good. Okay, it also claims to quickly smooth and blur fine lines. It is 70% skincare. It claims to have up to all day wear. Not really sure what up to all day wear. It's either all day wear or not. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know really how to define that, but that's what the marketing says, up to all day wear. And it says that it is suitable for most skin types, including sensitive skin. Some of the marketing claims seem a little bit vague to me. That's up to all day wear. It's suitable for most skin types. I kind of just need my products to be a little bit more black and white. I don't need any gray. I don't need gray area. I need to understand clearly, is it for all skin types? Is it not? And if it's not for all skin types, what skin type is it not for? But that's what it says, but it says most skin types and including sensitive skin. So we got that going for us. The Haus Labs by Lady Gaga Triclone Skin Tech Medium Coverage with Fermented Arnica. Yes, I did have to memorize that so that I can speak directly to you and not look at my notes. That's a big title for a foundation. It sells for $45 for 1 ounce and comes in 51 shades. It's also medium coverage, also natural finish, also vegan, but this one is cruelty-free and gluten-free. So same size, $50 price point, $45 price point, 36 shades, 51 shades, vegan, cruelty-free, gluten-free. Nars offers 70% of the formulation is skincare. The Haus Labs by Lady Gaga claims that it has 20 plus skincare ingredients. And when you continue reading the marketing material, it says that it has a luminous finish that wears all day. Both of these are water-based, so they will work best with your water-based concealer and water-based products. So if you are ready, let's get into the first wear test, which will be with primer and applied the way the brands ask us to apply it. I'm not in love with how one of them asks us to apply it, but we're gonna get into it. All right, a lot to unpack here, so let's just jump right in because we are going to put these two foundations through the ringer. The first thing that I want to do is apply a little bit of cream concealer on my cheeks and my forehead, because some of you like to do what's called under sculpting. I know I do, and I want to see how these foundations sit on top of a concealer or any type of a cream product. This would also be true if you wear a cream blush, for example. We just want to see how that wears. So I'm going to put a little bit of my hair out of the way. So let's start with a little bit of cream there, and we'll just go cream here. Again, just to see how it wears. We're also going to use a primer for today, but not everywhere, because some of you use primers and some of you don't. I'm just using the Guerlain primer, the little gold flakes. I'll link all this stuff down below, so don't feel like you gotta keep up with me. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of primer on each side of my nose. Now down here, I'm gonna leave these areas bare skin. They do have moisturizer and sunscreen so that my face is really nicely prepped. I just did not do that on camera, because if you've seen any of my Friday face-offs, foundation, you know I always apply moisturizer, let it absorb, then sunscreen, let it absorb so that your face is really hydrated, very moisturized before getting into this application. It's probably important to note I'm not super dry, but I'm also not oily. So little bit T-zone, but then pretty normal-ish, whatever that means. Okay, So starting on this side is the Nars, and I have it in color Santa Fe, and it says, prepare skin for smooth application with Radiance Primer. Of course, they want us to use their primer. Lift cap straight up, do not twist to expose pump. Then dispense 1 to 2 pumps of light reflecting foundation and warm with fingertips. Apply starting at the center of the face and blend out with the fingertips. Focus on one area at a time and blend well. Focus on one area at a time and blend well. I wonder if that was a typo. Anyway, maybe they just want you to focus on one area and blend well. Set foundation with light reflecting setting powder for 16-hour wear and added dimension. All right, we're not doing powder today because not everyone likes to wear powder. I don't love to wear powder on my foundation. So today is going to be the primer that we used. Tomorrow is going to be the with powder. And the next day is going to be with setting spray. So I think we've got it all covered. It didn't say shake it, but I would think you'd have to shake it. I don't love that it's fingertip. I'm really not a fan of that, but we're gonna do it the way Nars, who created this, says to do it. So we're gonna go 2 pumps right there. You can see it's a liquid, but it's running, so not bad. I think we're just gonna go, I shouldn't have done 2 pumps because I'm only doing half a face. All right, I'm gonna wipe half of that off, you guys, because I don't think I need 2 pumps. Focus on one area at a time and blend well. Okay, well, we're gonna do that. I just have not applied foundation with my fingers for so long. That just does not, I'm not a fan. I just do not like doing that. Do you guys like putting foundation on with your fingers? Concealer, yes, 100%, but foundation, I just feel like it goes on so thick when you do it that way. The highlighted ingredients in the Nars is biometric oat. Visibly improves clarity by reducing the appearance of redness. All right, when you compare the two, there's no redness showing on this side. It also has Japanese lily turf, which is said to support a strong skin barrier by helping maintain moisture. That would be nice. And it also has cocoa peptides with milk thistle, which minimizes the negative effect of blue light and environmental stressors. So if you're in front of your computer all the time, this is said to help with that. And it says that it quickly blurs and smooths. I would say that it probably does blur. One of the reasons I don't like applying makeup foundation specifically with my fingers is I feel like you have to move the product around, and by doing so I am moving the products that I put on underneath this, not necessarily that concealer but that primer. I don't know how much of the primer stayed where I applied it and how much of it went everywhere else. That is a very pretty foundation. I feel like with your fingers, it does blend out nicely. There is some redness that's coming through right there. It does say this is blendable. I could blend it if I wanted, but I kind of want to see what it does on its own. And remember, this is a natural finish, so it definitely looks natural. I don't think it looks, it's not shiny, it's not matte, it's not satiny. I mean, it looks like my skin. It's a little blotchy though. Let's just get another little half of a pump. We're just gonna touch up some of these areas that I still feel like I've got a little bit of color. And I'm gonna wipe the rest off because I can't. And I never used to be like that. I think in high school, I know I didn't have brushes in high school. So by building it up a little bit, it does give me the extra coverage that I'm looking for. I mean, I feel like it blurs lines, but I also feel like it accentuated these lines right through here. You guys can see that from this side to that side. See if I can smooth it out and not have it not have it highlight them as much. Yeah, I think if I was to do a brush, that would have been a little bit better, but we are going by what they say. So just early on, I feel like my pores are accentuated right through here. Maybe that's the primer. We'll know tomorrow if the primer had anything to do with it. All right, next let's go on to the Haus Labs by Lady Gaga. This is the Triclone Skin Tech medium coverage with fermented arnica. It's a clean formula as well as cruelty-free. And before I do anything, let us read the directions for how to apply Shake Well. Blend 1 to 2 pumps onto clean, moisturized skin using the Haus Labs foundation brush, fingertips, or a beauty sponge. Yes, hallelujah, beauty sponge, let's go. All right, so here is a dampened beauty sponge, you guys, and here is a non-dampened beauty sponge. Just so if you're wondering how to use these, this is a dry one. You just want to get this wet, squeeze all the water out of it until it is damp, and it should double in size to look something like that. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna only need 1 pump because we're only doing half of our face. It is also a pump applicator, and I'm just gonna go 1 pump. It's a liquid foundation and the consistency is very similar to what we experienced on the Nars side. So we're just gonna dot it. The highlighted ingredients in this foundation is that fermented arnica, and it is said to help visibly reduce redness and irritation. The second highlighted ingredient is a proprietary blend of medicinal herbs that promote healing and calming. Can I ingest it? Because that would be awesome. And then the third ingredient is Bioferment 7 Complex, another proprietary blend of super antioxidants that protect the skin from stress. So both of these are good for your skin long term, which I think is phenomenal that we're starting to see more and more of our foundations carry a skincare element to them. I mean, if we're gonna wear this stuff for sometimes 16 hours long, then yeah, I'd like it to do something for my skin besides just cover. I mean, back in the day, covering our imperfect skin was enough, but now, no. As a consumer, we are demanding more, and many cosmetic companies are responding to the changing and higher demanding needs of the consumer. I mean, I just prefer how it goes on with the beauty sponge. Now remember, this also claims to be medium coverage natural finish. It looks very natural. I do feel as though my pores where we put that primer is accentuated on both sides. So tomorrow when we don't use primer, we'll see if that's the case. Those colors are pretty darn close to one another, so I'm glad that we matched it that way. And blending this was very simple. So now we're gonna apply a little bit of concealer. I'm just using the Hourglass concealer that was in last week's Friday Face Off that I love. Both of these foundations are water-based, and so is this concealer, so we should have no problem with blendability or wear with these two really complementing one another. And add a little bit of powder on the outside of this. Now tomorrow we're gonna use full powder on the full face, but today we just wanna see what a little bit of powder does, and I'm just gonna pick up some powder blush, and I'm going to apply this above where we put the contour. So as we go through the day, we'll be able to see how these foundations wear on top of that cream contour, AKA cream blush sometimes, and we want to see how powder wears on top of it. So I'm going to go right above where we put that cream contour. I love that blush by MAC. This is just, it's dainty. That's just such a pretty blush. It does not match my shirt at all today. I should have went with something more burgundy, but you know, I just picked the blush color that I loved. I do that too often. Instead of coordinating everything, which always just looks nicer with your makeup, I just grab what color blush I want to wear that day instead of coordinating it. That concealer blended really nicely on both foundations, and I think we are good to go. All right, so we have a lot going on with these foundations today, but I want to put them through a series of tests so that you can find a foundation that works best for the unique ways that you wear the products under and over your foundations. So let's see how these hold up throughout the day. Camera phone is getting so wet, but I mean, look at how much it's snowing. And yeah, these are holding up really nicely. So I can't say the same for some of this mascara, but I don't think I put my waterproof mascara on today, clearly, because it is all over my face. But regardless, this is not a mascara update. This is a foundation update. And if you're going to be out in elements, or if you're like a skier, or if you like to just be out riding a bike, whatever it is, these, I think you'd be happy with how these perform under more extreme circumstances. We'll see how the next few days hold up in terms of your day-to-day wear, but under like some more extreme conditions, I have to say, that's probably dirt. I have to say I'm pretty impressed with how they held up under this snow and me on the tractor. So I'll see you guys in about 4 more hours in the warmth of the house, and I won't touch these foundations, and we'll see how they did throughout the rest of the day. So here we are 9.5 hours later, and let's take a look at how these foundations held up. First and foremost, after 9.5 hours without a setting spray or a setting powder, I think they both still look really, really pretty. In terms of the Nars side, where we put that primer, the Nars side is still holding up very nicely. The Haus Labs side is also holding up nicely where we put the primer. Where we did not put the primer, which was down through here on each side, it looks as though the Haus Labs, while it's still really pretty, it has worn more than the Nars side. So with the primer, I think they performed equally the same. Without a primer, the Nars side held up just a little bit longer. Now, I also feel as though the Nars side has provided more of a full coverage throughout the day. It is a medium coverage, that's what it says, but I feel like it's more full coverage. How did they wear on top of a cream product? We put them both on top of that cream concealer. The Nars side looks still just as good as it did this morning in my opinion. And you guys, I have been out in the snow and the snow has been moving sideways half the time. So these foundations have been through it today, as has my hair and the rest of my makeup. So I think they both still look fine where we applied that cream product underneath them. And in terms of the powder over them, I feel like the Nars side still looks really nice where we put that powder from the blush on top of it. The Haus Labs side again has worn a little bit more, but for 9.5 hours, I think it still looks really, really pretty. So where we applied primer, I think they did fine. Where we didn't apply primer, I think they also did okay. For the price point, I wouldn't be upset with either one of these at the 9.5 hour mark. So all in all, I would have to say, I think they have done well. I'm curious to see how they hold up tomorrow with a powder and then the next day with a setting spray. But for those of you that don't like a powder, then if you had a little bit of primer, I think you might get some good wear out of these. I do. All right, we are ready for day 2 and I am ready to put some foundation on. Today we're going to apply these foundations with a brush, then we're going to buff it out a little bit with a little buffing brush, and then we are going to set it with a setting powder to see how it holds up. Before we do that, I have my moisturizer on and my sunscreen so that my skin is really nourished, moisturized, and ready for a good application of these foundations. So I'm going to start with a little bit of cream contour right underneath my cheekbones, just a little bit there. And today we're going to use the cream blush. This is by Merit. This is in the color Beverly Hills. I mean, you guys, look how pretty that color is, and that's without covering it with foundation. And then you can just blend it with your fingers if you wanted to stop here or apply just a little bit of moisturizer. You would be good to go and you wouldn't have to do much more. It's just a very creamy consistency. In fact, that is what I have on my lips as well, so that it all coordinates. Makes decision making in the morning a whole lot easier when you have to get ready in a hurry. So I'm just going to blend those in. That blush, it's so creamy. It's just super creamy. But anyway, this is not a blush review. This is a foundation review. So we're gonna start with the Nars. I'm gonna put the Haus Labs right next to it just so you guys can get a sense for the consistency between the two. Very, very similar in their consistency, both a liquid foundation. This one was the Nars. I think from the testing yesterday, it was pretty clear that both of these foundations blend. They blend very easily, so you don't need a lot at all to get the coverage, especially if you're only doing half of your face. But I found that throughout the day, I think they would have worn a little bit better and not settled as much had I not worn as much. So I want to make sure that we don't make that mistake again and that we're giving these a fair test. I mean, that's a really good telltale sign of how well this covers, if you can see the two different sides. So now that I have it on, I'm just gonna go back in with a dual fiber brush, and I'm just gonna blend everything and soften any lines just to give my foundation a flawless look. See how pretty that blush looks, just sort of peeking through? You can always go and apply more, but I'm curious to see how these foundations wear over a cream product. Now we'll go to the Haus Labs side. I don't know if you guys have seen this trend lately called de-influencing, and I'm struggling with it because I'm glad it's finally a thing. If you haven't seen it, what it means is there's a trend for influencers to de-influence, and what that means is to start saying things about products that wouldn't necessarily influence you to purchase them. So before this trend of de-influencing, you would see a lot of influencers, certainly not everybody, but the influencers started to get this reputation of, oh my gosh, this is the best mascara in the whole world, it's life-changing, or oh my gosh, this foundation is the best thing ever, you must buy it, you've got to have it, look how smooth my skin looks. And I think it's just been so overdone and so misused and abused that it has finally caught on and lost the trust of many people that now view influencers as just salespeople. So there's this trend now to start de-influencing. And I think that can hurt both ways, because what that means is you'll now start to see more influencers going, oh, this product is not very good. This product isn't very good. This one's pretty good. So it's less of a push about life-changing, you must have it, to no, this one's good. No, this one's not good. And I'm glad to see it moving that way, because the consumer should be able to watch a video or an influencer and get the truth about how that product is working or not working. So the fact that we even have to have this trend towards de-influencing makes me sad, but I'm happy that it's happening. And it just begs the question that if you have influencers that you've been watching and you have not felt as though every video was, this is the best thing ever, this is the best thing ever, oh my gosh, here's my favorite eyeliner, here's my favorite, you gotta have this highlighter. So if you've watched videos or influencers where only 50% of their products are ones that they're actually recommending and the other 50% are saying, I don't know about this, then as this de-influencing starts to be more of a movement, you will know better which of these influencers do you really trust because they've always de-influenced, or which ones are now starting to de-influence. And that would cause you a little bit of, why now? So I'm glad it's happening in the industry. I think it happens more to the younger population just because there's more influencers in that space. But I'm really happy to see it becoming a thing where there's an awareness of what is working and what isn't. And it's okay to say, you know what, that mascara didn't really work that well for me, or that whatever, probably not a good idea to wear with mature skin, or whatever the case may be. So I hope you're finding more reviews that you can trust. So you saw me buff out the Haus Labs by Lady Gaga. Very easy to blend, very smooth, very easy to buff. Now I'm just gonna apply a little bit of that Hourglass concealer that we reviewed last week, and I'm gonna just let it set up for a second, press it in. And for day 3, Lisa, because you asked for triple barrel look hair, we're gonna do that again. When we do day 3, it's not a 80s dress up day, that's just the big hair we're gonna be rocking tomorrow. And to set the look, I'm gonna take this RCMA powder that we've used for most of these reviews, just to stay consistent really. I like to just get a little bit of it from the lid, put it on this medium taper brush. I'm going to set that concealer just a little bit through the T-zone. If you need to set a foundation with powder, and I typically would recommend that you do just a very light coating, but the key to making that look nice and not cakey is to make sure that you're exfoliating your skin, like a nice, very soft scrub where you're getting in there and exfoliating that dead skin, because the foundation will absorb to that dead skin cells and then the powder will grab onto that foundation. And that's where that texture starts to come from and that cakey look. So just make sure that you're exfoliating, whether you need to exfoliate once a week, a few times a week, whatever works best for you and the needs of your skin. And as a last step, I'm just gonna take a little fan brush, grab a little bit of this powder highlight. This is Reload by Revolution. I love this one. And just go right across the top so that we can see how these foundations wear with a little bit of powder on powder. Both of these foundations look absolutely beautiful, flawless. I would say almost an airbrushed look with just a little bit of setting powder. I hope that we can get this look to last throughout the entire day. All right, so we are at the end of day 2, 8.5 hours later, and I have put both of these foundations, well, because they're on my face and my whole face did everything today, in and out of the house, in and out of the grocery store. I did what most of us busy women do on the course of a day, and it's sometimes exhausting to even relive it and list it all. But trust me, these foundations have been through the test, so let's see how they hold up. 8.5 hours later, I would say that they both still have a medium coverage and a natural finish. Where we applied that cream blush and the cream contour, I feel like both of them have worn very little, if at all. Neither one is over shiny. My only critique is that the Nars went on a little bit thicker despite my using just a little bit to cover this half of my face. It automatically settled into those fine lines, this fine line and in my navia fold, and it stayed there, but it didn't move anywhere else. It didn't settle into any other fine lines. It's not cakey at all. And the Haus Labs by Lady Gaga, it did not settle as much into that line from the onset during the application. And again, you guys, I think if I used a primer through here, maybe that wouldn't happen. So we're gonna try that tomorrow. And I don't see any wearing in any real area. So that is how I would expect a foundation to wear. It is nothing out of the ordinary. I think it I think they both held up really, really nicely. So at the end of day 2, if I was to recommend just one of these, I would have to say for more mature skin, the Haus Labs by Lady Gaga is just a notch above the Nars because it applies easier. It feels like they're the same consistency and formula, but the Nars, while it's a little bit better coverage, pigmented coverage, it does sort of grab those lines right there. And the Haus Labs did also, but not to the same extent, if that makes sense. So you can't go wrong at this stage with either one of these. So let's see what tomorrow has to bring and if we can find a clear winner at the end of day 3. We are back for day 3 and I am really excited about this one because we're gonna make a couple little changes to see if we can have these foundations work just a little bit better. I'm gonna take a little bit of primer because we did see some settling into these little areas, right? Little, they're actually quite big, but you know, we're gonna camo them today. I'm just gonna put a little bit of primer right through there to see if we can keep that from settling, specifically on the Nars side, because I really wanna love this Nars foundation because I love how well it lasts and how beautiful it is 8 hours later. So I wanna give it every opportunity to be successful. So we're gonna, just like yesterday, we're gonna take a little bit of cream blush and we're gonna go right on top. And you guys, same thing in the previous days. I have already moisturized my face as well as adding some sunscreen and left that all on so that we can get to this point of the foundation. I'm gonna add a little bit of cream contour, just ever so lightly underneath. I'm gonna do a little less today because I'm starting to lose some volume in this area and I don't wanna highlight these temples. In fact, let's add, I'm gonna add a little bit of concealer because it's lighter in that area and just see if I can't. I just wanna add some volume through here. Okay, and we'll add concealer under the eyes in a second. And then we will blend all of this in right through there. See if we can't pull that out a little bit. And actually, we're just doing some sculpting today in addition to, I just want to contour the side of my cheekbones because they are becoming more prominent. So right where that sticks out a little bit, I'm going to contour those down. Now let's just get to the foundation. You guys, let's just get to it. I'm going to take our Nars and today I'm going to apply it like I normally do with a little bit on the brush because I just feel like it works better that way. I think a damp beauty sponge is nice. I just think it can shear it out more than I'd like to. So a half of a pump, and that's the Nars. And then remember, we will set this with a setting spray today. Gosh, that Nars just covers so beautifully. So you guys have seen me do this 3 times now, so I don't need to spend a lot of time with it. I just want to apply it like we normally would in the morning, which is quick. And now we'll go to the Haus Labs by Lady Gaga. Do the same thing, about a half a pump, and I'm gonna dot down my nose just to make sure we get that covered. I hope by the end of today we have a clear winner. If not, I've given you guys information so that you can see which works best for you. But right now, like I said yesterday, I think the Haus Labs it's cruelty-free, so for that reason, just like last week with the Hourglass, when the concealer, the Hourglass and the Nars concealer were neck and neck, the deciding factor was that cruelty-free. If we can't solve this settling into fine lines on the Nars side, then that will make the decision of who is a clear winner a lot easier for me. I also wanted to test these for transfer proof. Now they don't claim to be transfer proof, but you guys are gonna think I walk around hugging people because some reason every example of transfer proof is hugging somebody. But have you been in that situation? I hope not, because it's awfully embarrassing. Saw somebody at a gathering and they have on a nice outfit or a nice suit jacket and you're like, oh my gosh. And they have to wear that the rest of the night. I am always so conscientious of that and I don't ever want to cause that to be an issue for somebody. Hugging is important. I'm a hugger. I definitely am a hugger. Except when I go overseas and then you've got that whole 2-kiss, 3-kiss thing, which always confuses me because I've worked for companies that were in the Netherlands and I've worked for companies who headquarters were up in Switzerland, and some of the leaders were from Germany, and some were from Austria, and then one was from Belgium. And y'all do it a little bit different. Every country's a little different. So I'm like, is this a 2-kiss or a 3-kiss? I don't know. Hugging's just easier. It's a one-side hug. It just makes it a whole lot easier. So with our very high-tech transfer testers, aka toilet paper, I just want to see. I'm just gonna lightly pat because that's all it would really take. My lipstick's on a little bit of one, but that is all. So that's good. And we're gonna set these with some setting spray and see how the wear goes. I'm using the Mist and Fix by Makeup Forever. This is one of my favorite setting sprays. I find that it works really well. It lasts all day. So that is it for the day. And Lisa, I did my hair with the triple barrel just for you today. So there's the foundations for the final review today. Both were very, very pretty. Again, I think the Nars gives a little bit more full coverage, but really, really beautiful. Let's see how they go throughout the day with the setting spray. Well, here we are at the 4.5, almost 5-hour mark, and I am in the car. I've just been out running errands in the snow. I haven't literally been in the snow, but there's been some dusting of snow. Here's the Nars side as a reminder, and it is holding up well. I definitely see some settling right through here. Again, it's not bad. I'm probably being over hypercritical, but that's what these reviews are for, is a good honest look at how these are performing. And please hear me when I say this, there's no filter on my phone. I'm not filming through a filter. I literally just grab my iPhone and put it to video, and I am filming, and then I will download it over to my video editing, where I will slice it into this morning and in between this evening's video, because that's on the same memory card. And that's all the editing that I will do to this. So just know that this is the beautiful look that you will get with these two foundations with a little bit of setting spray. So I don't think you can go wrong so far. I'm really happy with how they're both holding up, and we'll give them a couple more hours and then we'll do our final review. Okay, let's do it. Let's do our final check-in of these two foundations and see if we have a declared winner. It's going to be a little difficult, so let's zoom you guys in. My eyes have certainly gotten more tired throughout the course of this day. We are at the 9-hour check-in, our final check-in, and I have to say I like them both. They both really look beautiful. Both of them worked well with a beauty sponge, with a primer, with setting powder, with brushes, and now with a setting spray. Got a little curly Q. Let's just get that out of the way. So taking a closer look, where we applied the primer on both sides, I don't know that it really impacted the way the foundation settled into these lines and enlarged these pores right through here. I do feel like the Nars enlarged those just a little bit more. But without somebody being right in your space, it's beautiful. It's really pretty foundation. And remember, I've got a big light here just so that you guys can really see. In a normal situation, in the day-to-day, I just don't think you're gonna see that as much as I see it. I'm not here to convince you that one is better than the other. I just wanna show you both sides and how they wore with me so that you can see if that is something that you like, don't like, wanna pass or not. It's also really clear to me that both of these foundations wear throughout the duration of the day, whether it's with primer, without primer, with setting spray, with setting powder, they wear beautifully. I do feel like it's a little more shiny today with the setting spray than it was yesterday with the setting powder. So if you have dry skin, you may not get this little bit of shininess. Now, it's not off-putting by any stretch. If you had oily skin, you would most likely want to set both of these foundations with a powder, because I am starting to get a little bit oily. It looks like you're a little shiny. And if you tend to be even more oily than I am, then that could be an issue, but not anything that you can't counteract with just a little bit of setting powder, which you probably do with your foundations today. At the end of the day, I don't think you could go wrong with either one of these foundations. They both last the duration of the day. They both have a nice coverage, and the finish at the end of 8-9 hours looks as good as when it does when you first apply it. They don't oxidize. They're just really beautiful foundations. Again, if you have oily skin or dry skin, you just want the application to work with your skin type. The Nars is $50. The Haus Labs is $45. Nars comes in 36 shades, where the Haus Labs comes in 51 shades. And the Haus Labs is cruelty-free. So there you have it. Those are the two. I think if I had to face them off, I'd go with the Haus Labs by Lady Gaga. but I don't think the Nars is a bad choice either. I hope this was helpful. We didn't have a clear, big, huge winner. They're both really good foundations, so that is the best outcome we could have expected. Well, that does it for me and this week's Friday face-off. Next Friday, you're gonna wanna see that one because we're talking about 2 lipsticks that are supposed to go the distance in time and stay on for hours. Can they do it? We're gonna put 2 of them to the test. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.